up, Neil?
Hi, Cal. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. Yourself?
Doing good, too. Excited to actually be recording again. We haven't had a recording in maybe...
almost 2 months.
I was going to say 6 weeks.
I nailed it down. It was October 13th with a Chevron Buffet.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And if we remember, that was a band we discovered, which was Peter DiStefano from Porno for Pyros.
Yep.
And before we dropped the episode, we found out that the band was no longer working together. So,
oh, man.
The ultimate rock and roll experience. But we were there from cradle to grave. We broke both stories.
Wow.
So,
they were there for like a month. Maybe.
One guy that knows about stuff like that is our guest here today, Don McLean.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
Our Season 2,
What's up,
Episode
Don?
26.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be in this new studio for the first time. So
Thank you. Yes, we have upgraded, updated some things here. It just feels better.
It does.
I feel like it's going to be a great episode.
Absolutely.
So I got to make sure we mention you are not the singer of American Pie, right? I'm sure you probably heard that 1 million times, right? But we'll get that out of the way now, right?
You know what? I'll tell you what. I love actually being called Don McLean. For one, my dad and my grandfather were both Don McLeans. Okay. So for me, I say we came first.
Yeah. You predate it, for sure.
And my dad had it a little worse. He was a musician in the 70s, and he was Don McLean. So he actually had to sing American Pie on stage because people wouldn't let him live it down.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's
funny.
Yeah, but for the older journalists that I work with, it's actually a really nice point. They're like, "Oh, Don McLean's reaching out to us."
Right.
So it's kind
and then you get on the phone like, "Oh, we can't hang up on him."
Yeah, exactly.
So when I heard your name, obviously we've actually just met.
Yeah, it was our first time meeting. So
I thought John McLean.
Die Hard
John McLean. I'm like,
famous Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's that time of
year. John McCain's coming? No, it's Don McLean. Oh, the fucking lead singer for that. Everybody, whatever. I wish it was John McLean.
Oh,
I'm totally played.
I will tell you, it's something funny too. I mean, I was up for an award with the marketing and sales executives in Detroit a few years ago. And the intro, I mean, it's an easy intro, right? They always say something about my name. So when I got up there, I actually started singing American Pie. I got everybody in the audience singing "Bye Bye Miss American Pie." So it was pretty incredible. It was a great experience. I mean, you gotta embrace it, right?
Right,
so
absolutely.
I love it.
Right, absolutely. It kind of reminds me of the movie Office Space. The dude's name is Michael Bolton.
Exactly. Yeah.
Except he didn't embrace it.
Absolutely. It's funny too. A web designer that I've worked with a lot. His name's Curtis Jackson.
Okay.
And so I used to joke that my IT guy was Michael Bolton, and I only work with famous names. So that was kind of funny. But,
that's hilarious.
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
So you've mentioned marketing, PR. So actually, I've just met you for the first time today as well. We just
it was great.
Hooked up on LinkedIn.
Our LinkedIn relationship.
Yes, I don't know, probably about a year, almost 2 years ago now. Absolutely. Or whatever. Right when you were, I think, starting your was it McLean Media?
Absolutely, it's been about 2.5 years.
2.5 years, okay. Yeah. And then it was just some random thing, and I said, "Hey, you want to be on the show?" We're like, absolutely. So, thanks for coming, man. I know it's quite a hike for people to get here sometimes, and the weather can be tricky, but we make it happen.
And the roads.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
construction.
Those damn roads. So, you've told us beforehand, I didn't, we just met, and you actually have a music background.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, so let me tell you about my business a little bit. I'll get that out of the way, and then we'll go right into all the music. But from the earliest stages, I realized that a lot of things I've done have been very entrepreneurial. And even my way of getting into PR is related to music, which is great. I just thought of this story, so I'm really glad that it's working out this way. But my first foray into public relations was. I had this band called the Phenomenals, and we started it when I was 14, back when I was at Crestwood High School over in Dearborn Heights. And me and the drummer are still best friends. We still talk to each other all the time and whatnot. But with that band, we wanted to get more gigs, and it's like, well, how do you get more gigs? You got to talk, about yourself. You got to put your name out there. And it's actually embarrassing to admit this now, but I used to actually write out stories about the band, and we had taken promo shots in front of my garage with a big white sheet hanging up, and we would go, me and my dad would actually drive me. This is before I had a car. He would drive me over to the Dearborn Press and Guide, or he would drive me to the Mellis newspapers in Southgate, or wherever we were playing. And I would actually go in, ask to see the editor, give them my story and the promo shot of the band, and 9 times out of 10 they posted it. They published it.
Really?
So,
this is you at 14.
This is me at 14.
That's awesome.
So, I didn't actually start in PR until later in my mid-20s, but it's kind of funny that I didn't realize I was doing it before I was doing it. So,
right.
So it's pretty incredible, to think about that and to think about, the kind of confidence you need at 14 to go and talk to an editor and ask them for this thing that's so important,
and that confidence doesn't change. Like, you need that for me at 49, like when I'm going to shows by myself,
Exactly.
and I'm not the best at going to talk to people, but you just got to do it. If you want to make it happen, you make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you know what? And to me now it's become like one of the most fun parts of everything we're doing here. Is even when I'm going alone, and just meeting people, talking to them, hanging out, and that's the whole live music experience. Everyone just there. Doesn't matter where you're from or anything else. You're all there for the same reason. And it's funny because now I'm seeing people at multiple shows.
Oh, absolutely.
And I post the pictures of people I see, and me and my wife are sitting there in the morning, and she's looking at them. She's like, I know those people.
Yeah,
it's from a different show that I listen to. It's funny.
That's pretty cool. That's how you build relationships,
right? Absolutely.
And that's part of my business. It's all relationship building,
That's all it is. In life, right?
Absolutely.
And it's genuine relationships.
Right.
You can tell the person that just wants something, and you can figure them out really quickly,
Oh, yes.
But it's just like actually caring and genuinely talking to people,
Absolutely, yeah. So, a couple years ago, I realized that, over the years, I've built a lot of my own processes, even going back to reaching out directly to the editor, I've built a lot of my own processes. I had, some different philosophies for just how to work and do different things. And so, one thing that was keeping me from starting my business was, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. I was like, how do you set up a business? How do you do taxes? And then I finally realized, like, you don't have to do everything. You can talk to people. You can build those relationships with the right people. And then I finally just said, this is the time. And I was able to, within the first 15 to 30 days, I was able to pull down enough work contracted for the year that I felt really comfortable. And so since then we've been growing, and McLean Media is just a really big source of pride for me. So
nice. That's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah. Thank you.
It totally.
Thank you. And I have a full-time employee now.
I was wondering if you had anyone on staff. Yeah, that's awesome.
Olivia, she was like my right hand at a previous company I worked with, and we just work really well together. And so she's out in San Diego now, but it's nice to be able to. Oh yeah, it's nice to be able to work from home full time. So we complement each other well, and hopefully we'll be hiring more soon.
Oh, yeah, it seems like they're all over the place too.
Yeah,
man.
Doing a lot in the life sciences, a lot with like manufacturing, technology, those sort of things. I've only stepped in the music a little bit there. You guys remember the show Happy Days?
Absolutely.
Okay, one of my favorite shows, by the way. Donnie Most from Happy Days, Ralph Melf, right? He was my client.
That is actually how we connected.
Is that how we connected?
Yes.
Okay.
You posted about Donnie Most because I had no idea about what you're going to say right now.
Yeah,
that's right. That is the one.
Donnie Most is incredible. By the way, he's a genuine guy, and he's a great person. So I absolutely loved working with him. He released an album, like a jazz sort of Frank Sinatra type album, and if anybody loves jazz out there, definitely go pick it up. It's worth it. That was incredible. I mean, I grew up listening to the 50s and 60s music, the 70s, and Happy Days was always on, especially when especially in the 90s when I was really like coming into my own. It had a resurgence, So
I mean, for me, I remember watching all the reruns and that with my dad.
Yeah,
they play them all day out, and I mean. That and MASH and just and
that's when when
my mom was like Knots Landing and stuff,
Okay,
and it's like, okay, well now I know why I love 90210 so much.
I love it. Yeah,
but no, that was funny because it was the Donnie Most thing, and I remember then I went and listened to it.
Oh, great!
And it was like if you didn't know it was him, you would have never guessed, And it was really impressive,
Oh, it's
And it's amazing how people like that can be so multi-talented.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And Happy Days just hit their 50th anniversy.
That's crazy.
It's really crazy to think about.
And there's still a lot of them are still around, which is actually surprising.
No, I just you ever go to Detroit Autorama? Yeah. Henry Winkler was there last year.
Yeah.
So
my dad was a big gearhead. Yeah, I've been to Motorama.
And if you go in the basement, that's where they got the good music. So you guys should definitely check that out.
Oh,
they got some really solid, and they have live bands all day.
Oh, really?
Which is it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
It's like a February, March thing.
Right. Right.
But
when everyone's getting out of hibernation a little bit.
It's like the first Hot Rod show of the year,
right?
So, like I said, for me, loving the old music and the old cars,
well,
it just
then
kind of fits.
That's got to be like the first car thing of the year too, right? Because
it is.
The auto show until when it's nicer out.
Yeah,
they finally thought, hey, maybe we should do it when people will be outside, like want to be here.
You just gotta hope it doesn't snow that day. They all drive them in,
right?
Now they moved it back down to January again.
Oh, they did? The auto show?
The auto show, yeah.
Oh, they did?
That's a different show, right? That's that's the Detroit North American International.
No, that's what I was saying. So so they did move it back. So I was going to say, so Autorama would be kind of the first one leading in, but they moved the auto show back.
They did move it back. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's coming up this January again.
Mm-hmm.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ready to go, Cal.
I love it.
All right, so... You said within the PR stuff, you mentioned a lot of the areas. I didn't hear podcasting in there, so just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I love podcasts. Over COVID, actually, that was a way that I like I told you, I like to think differently about things, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I was thinking to myself, like, how can I network with people? How can I build those connections where it's something that, COVID, you're not supposed to talk to anybody. You're not supposed to be this close.
Right.
I'd have to be on the other side of the room, right?
Yeah, with a mask on.
Please.
Double up. Damn it.
And we're coming up on 5 years since COVID. It's kind of nuts.
I
know. But I realized that podcasting is the ultimate form of networking because you get a chance to talk to somebody for an hour and build a relationship with them like we're doing now, which is just incredible. And so over COVID, I did one season of the Impact and Influence podcast by McLean Media. And for me, I just, it was, like I said, it was a way to get to know people. It was a way to network. It was a way to help to, start to build my business before I had the business.
Right.
And, met some incredible people that way.
Get kind of an anchor going before you really get yourself out there.
Yeah, and one day I hope to do it again, but, for now, the podcasting is really just pitching my clients to be on podcasts. But, again, grateful you guys having me here today.
Yeah, 100%.
One of my favorite topics.
No, I appreciate that, honestly.
Well, and that's the funny thing, because you mentioned COVID, right? Yeah. And podcasts and... it was a great medium for people, and then you started, you can do a whole remote thing. I love having people here. Yeah. To me, the in-person thing is a totally different experience.
Yeah, you're right.
I also encourage everyone to actually watch the video on YouTube versus listening on Spotify, but you listen and do whatever you want. But I always feel like when you're actually kind of watching it and you see the people, it just adds a little more to it, right?
Absolutely.
But for me, I had never... listened to a podcast, never watched one, never anything before we actually did our first episode. And I always knew about them. I knew people loved them. Mm-hmm. And I've told this story on multiple episodes, but it'll be the first time you're hearing it, so everyone else, go to the bathroom. I don't know. But
no, you got to say this multiple times.
Right, because not everyone watches every episode or listens.
Exactly.
You know, I understand that. Even my family, I guarantee they haven't listened to the ones since the first
Well,
one. You know what? I don't care. It's fine.
that's
You know,
okay.
people do what they want to do. But no, I went to my first show when I was 15.
Okay.
And it was Aerosmith at the Palace, and it was
Nice.
Joan Jett opened up.
Wow.
And I'll never forget. Actually, I went with Jason Hebert, an old friend in high school, and his mom drove us there, but she sat in the quiet room. I don't know if you remember those days.
No.
So yeah,
Wow.
like, the parents could go there without a ticket, and they would go just sit in a room.
Really?
And then when you were done, you would come out, meet up with
Oh
them,
my
and drive
God.
you home.
Quiet room.
So
You can't even listen.
No, I must have stopped that when I was coming
it
out.
was like, so 3 15-year-olds like at the Palace, just, I mean, it was from that changed my life.
R.I.P. to the Palace, by the way.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
I love that venue. Yeah.
And I mean, up until then, I was never huge with music or passionate about it growing up. It wasn't anything like my parents were super into or whatever. We listened to it, but it wasn't a topic, right? My brother was older by 3 years, so I started just kind of listening to what he would, but then it was like that was the game changer. And then next one, Black Crowes opening up for ZZ Top at the Palace.
Wow.
You know, and then my third concert ever was actually Lou Reed at
Lou
the
Reed,
Fox Theater.
wow, okay. That's
But
incredible.
so at that point, I started keeping track of everything. You know, what show, where it was at, who I went with, just like little notes.
That's
and then I was
incredible.
going to write a book. I always told everyone it was my Jack Kerouac stage. You know, I was going to write
Yeah.
a book, and I had all this, and then. You know, over time, I got older. I threw that out. I got married. I always say I'm still married. You know, I had kids and that. But then, you know, concerts. My youngest is a freshman in college now.
Okay.
So like, I used to go to a shit ton, and then you scale back and do what you got to do. And you know, I'm traveling for work and you know, priorities. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, I kind of got the itch back. You know, so I started going to a few more shows, and I went to. It was actually Jane's Addiction opened for Smashing Pumpkins at LCA.
Wow.
And I went with my daughter, and I, you know, just took some videos. It was two of my, Pumpkins are my favorite band ever.
Oh, wow.
And Jane's Addiction is, you know, one of my favorites.
Nice.
And I'd only seen them once. So I'm like, this is perfect. Took a couple of videos. I actually posted them on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And
I like this. I got to know why you post them on LinkedIn. But
that's the only social media I was on. I refused to ever be on social media, but I was like, LinkedIn, it's business, blah blah blah, you know. But you know, I put a spin, you know, music, blah blah blah, because it's LinkedIn. I don't want to be that guy.
No, it's.
But then
it's great.
I noticed I got like 3,000 like reactions or whatever to these videos. I'm like, holy shit, there's something here.
It's amazing.
And so then I started thinking about it, you know, and I came up with the idea, and I pitched it to my daughter when she came home from work. I said, hey, I think I'm going to start a podcast.
I love it.
And she's like, well, what's it going to be on? I said, well, I go, Neil's going to be my co-host. We're going to have guests on. And we're going to talk about concerts that we've been to, music, concerts we want to go to, and whatever, you know, pop culture, whatever, wherever it takes us. And she's like, that's actually a really good idea, Dad. So then my son came home, and same thing. He's like, that's a really good idea, Dad. Well, my wife had already been in bed before I thought of this, cooked up this idea.
It's amazing how you can cook up an idea in one day.
And then we wake up in the morning, and we're having coffee or whatever, and I just look at her and go, so I think I'm going to start a podcast. She goes, Kennedy already told me. I'm like, so sometime by 10 o'clock when you were sleeping and you know 6:30 and we woke up or whatever, you found all this shit out. I'm like, I am onto something. You know?
I love it.
And she's, you know, all of them have supported me of it.
Yeah.
I think maybe she didn't understand like how gung ho I was going to get with it.
Yeah.
But cool. You know what? You balance it.
You know, it's a great hobby.
Absolutely.
I mean, and not that it's a hobby. I mean, you guys are doing incredible work, but it's like, you know,
but that's what it is
my hobby is playing music too. And you know what? I get paid to do my hobby. Some people, you know, like if you're a hunter, and nothing against hunters, right? A lot in my family, but it costs a lot to be a hunter.
Oh, yeah.
It costs a lot of money, right?
Yes.
If you're a musician and it's just a hobby, you get paid.
Right.
Hopefully. I mean, you know, not every gig, but
it's like
it can be fun. And it's a release, so this is a really great...
Paying money to go to shows and stuff, but you know what? That's my golf. That's my bowling. That's my, whatever other people do. That's my fun.
You guys are going to get to a point where everybody wants you at those shows.
Right.
I mean, this Two Dudes podcast is going to be invited to a lot of these shows. I see it. So
I hope so. I appreciate
that. I'll make sure it happens. I'll help you out with that.
Yeah, this cigar guy at work already.
What's your company? McLean
Media.
Yeah, McLean Media.
Yeah, that is a nice shop. I like that.
I got to represent today. But I just want to say, like, with that video of the Smashing Pumpkins, right? I mean, I think you've discovered something that a lot of people haven't discovered on LinkedIn, and I don't know if you saw it, but this is one of the reasons why I'm writing that book, is the In Crowd for LinkedIn Mastery. It's about becoming a thought leader on LinkedIn, but how to do it in your own way, right. and how to really embrace that network, because a lot of people are so passive on it. It's like, I think like 1% of users actually post on it, and in the last, I just had a post on this last week. Since this year, and hope to God I can finish that book soon. I keep prioritizing my clients over my own work. So,
absolutely.
I gotta do what I gotta do, but I'm gonna get that done. And it's so close. I'm just in the editing phase. So
nice.
But I said at the beginning of the year, I'm gonna post once a day on LinkedIn and see how it goes. And I'm up 900% on LinkedIn this year, which is just crazy.
Right.
And it's actually bringing in business for me, which pushes the book back further.
Right. No, that's a good problem to have.
Exactly. But you've realized, like, you post that video, it's something different, but you were still able to connect with it. You're able to show that authenticity, which is unique to you.
Which can spur on another thought of your book, too.
Right.
Boom.
I might have to put that in there.
Yeah.
No, and that, and you're right, because, again, that was the only thing I was on. And
I like it, though.
And, it was funny because I started posting more. But it was like my work stuff, and to be honest, like I live my work stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Now my hobby, I do have an LLC for it, because I'm doing it all the way.
You're doing it the right way.
And like you, I'm like, how in the hell do I do all this stuff? And to be honest, I'm still figuring it out. But I did file taxes last year, so
I love how you just government taxes.
Government.
So
F you, government.
No, but because even though we make zero money, and everything else, but to have that
still
ready to go, so that when we do, that you're not scrambling, because we might turn from 10 active listeners to 35, and then we got to be ready.
It could just be you have one guest, and then all of a sudden you blow up,
dude. That's what we were just talking about earlier. So a lot of it's luck, first of all, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can get one person, and that can just take you off. And the one thing that
it's not just luck.
Well,
let's
you
be
make
clear.
your own
It's
luck.
hard work.
It's hard. No,
plus
it's hard work, and sometimes you land in that thing. Yeah. People will call it luck. But there's a lot of work going on, without a doubt.
Yeah,
you got to be consistent. It's to the point of almost annoying.
It's like with my business. A lot of people will call me lucky. But it's like I've put in a lot of hard work.
Totally.
And they're like, oh, you don't have a boss. I'm like, well, I have 10 bosses now. Every one of my clients.
Absolutely.
And then, your employees are also, you owe a lot
all your
to
customers.
Them, and everybody's a customer.
And that's
so
the
Amazon
sort of
changes.
Philosophy, right? If you treat everyone as your customer and you take care of them first.
Yeah. And it's because you want to take care of them.
Right.
It's not because you
and that's why I
feel like you have to.
Me and Neil ain't sitting here just because me and Neil like to do this. We like to bring it out to everyone. It's
about being personal with people.
Yeah.
I heard an interesting thing. Restaurant owners, they open a restaurant. Oh, yeah, you can have the best food. You can have but it's not about the best food. It's about being personal and with their client. When somebody walks in,
their experience.
Yeah, your experience. Yeah. Oh my gosh, nice to see you again. Or how are you? You've never been in here before? Come on in. That's probably. Not probably.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, you spent quite a bit of time in the restaurant Yeah, some people. Yeah,
there's a lot of parallels to the bands here too that that you love. I mean, they got to build those relationships with the people.
Mm-hmm.
So even just playing live on stage. I mean, I was telling you guys I play tenor saxophone. I've been playing since.
I want to dig a little more into that.
Yeah, I've been playing.
So first band at 14. So was it always sax you played then? Or?
Always sax.
Nice.
Yeah, my dad was a sax player.
Okay.
He started playing, I think in 1950 or something like that.
Wow.
And he started on clarinet, which is what every sax player had to start on back in the day.
Okay.
They had to play clarinet first. But he played a lot, and then over the years, I got to meet a lot of people playing sax.
Nice.
It was pretty incredible.
You said you played the Token not too long ago.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I played with a lot of great bands, and recently I've been playing with. I told you I do martial arts, right? Mm-hmm. So I and this story connects. So I'll tell you about the Token. But and it's one of my favorite smallest venues, the Token, or the smaller.
They've really updated it because it had been a while since I'd been there.
Yeah,
and then we just went last year to see a buddy's band play.
Yeah,
it looks great. And then I saw Los Lobos played there.
Yeah,
and
Mitch Ryder.
Yeah,
I saw Mitch Ryder there.
Yeah, they're getting some. Good bands.
They have some good bands in there. They have a lot of kind of like you do, but it's all the people that played there, and they signed it, and they signed the wall in the back. I mean, being a musician there, you get a different experience too, right? Because you get to see all the signatures on the walls of everybody that's played before you,
right?
Which is kind of like a little bit of rock and roll history.
I love that picture you shared with us earlier of the backstage.
I'll leave it on the comment in the video.
Oh yeah, perfect.
So you guys
so
you can share it. But going back to the Token. So I started back in martial arts after taking some time off. You mentioned kids and you kind of get out of things.
Right.
I had studied for 20 years in Tung Sudo, which is a Korean martial art. And then my son became of age where he could finally start doing, a form of martial arts. And so it took me a while to find the right studio because I was just too far away from my other studios. So found this really great community of folks at the Michigan Academy of Taekwondo, which is just incredible if you live in the Northville area. But the father of the gentleman that owns the school, his name's Ron Rose, and he has a band called Eric the Red. And Ron's an 8th degree grandmaster, and his son is as well at this point, Paul Rose.
Eric the Red,
it's called Eric the Red Band. You can find him on Facebook. You can erictheredband.com. Nice. So I play with them sometimes, and we got to play the Token, you know, and it's really grateful to be able to play. I don't have time really to be in a full-time band right now, just business, and my kids are doing everything in the world, and they're doing great, but
life gets in the way, but it's also great that it gets in the way, right?
But we got to play the Token, and I'll tell you, the sound man, whoever does the sound at the Token, shout out to them, because they are incredible. They know their stuff. I love playing tenor sax, but I've never heard myself sound this way before. I felt like I was channeling Clarence Clemens. I felt like Bruce Springsteen came down, and said, "You're going to be Clarence for tonight." It's like Blues Brothers, right? It's just a shining light.
Blues Brothers, I love.
One of my favorite movies.
Oh, it's great.
I know. And I got to see him. That's part of another story I want to tell you. But I got to play, and the saxophone sounded so big, and I was like, man, you guys know your stuff. But we get to play some of the cool songs like Money, by Barrett Jackson. The Beatles also covered it. A bunch of other songs like that. But just some great stuff,
So were you consistent in bands and stuff from 14 pretty much till now?
Yeah, absolutely. So
real quick, how many bands off the top of your head have you been in or part of?
Yeah,
is it 10 or higher or 10 or lower? Or?
It's lower than 10, but I had a good amount of time with all of them. I can give you a quick recap.
Yeah, sure.
No, that's totally
one of my so I played with the Phenomenals. That was a group that me and my best friends founded in high school, and we played for a long time. We gained some notoriety, of course, going to those newspapers.
Right.
But I used to do something. My dad taught me how to do this, but I used to play 2 saxes at the same time. So I'd have my alto in my left hand and my tenor sax in my right hand, and play, and people were just like freaked out, man. I don't know if you ever saw anybody do that before.
Well,
No, I never.
Picturing it right now. That's pretty rad.
Well, I mean, even the two mouthpieces in your mouth is pretty tough, and to control the air and everything.
Absolutely.
But, to get that done was
crazy.
Was pretty rocking, So
I'm gonna have to actually YouTube that now, so I can. I'm sure there's.
I wish I had a video because I didn't have a cell phone then.
Right.
It was before smartphones. Yes. I mean, my band disbanded about the time the first iPhone came out.
Right.
So that was
Right.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's what we talk about too, just the evolution of music.
Yeah.
In our lifetime, from going to camping out for tickets.
Yeah.
Or waiting at midnight on Tuesday to for the new album to drop or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which were
Going to Harmony House.
Right. I told it was funny because I was at a show. Someone's like, "Yeah, I got my very first thing at Harmony House." I'm like, "I have a Harmony House T-shirt." It's
absolutely.
And but like Dearborn Music, one of the last ones that are
Dearborn
still
Music.
out there.
Yeah.
The original record store.
Yeah, and they have the one in Farmington now, which is closer to my house. And
they do.
It's a big store.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they got a couple locations.
Oh, nice. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, but in terms of other bands I played with, I mean, the first band I played with was my dad's band, the Blue Notes. He had a band called the Blue Notes before Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes made it popular in the 70s. But they were like one of the best bands around. I mean, it was funny. I mean, they were pulling more money down per week than my grandfather was, who had put in 30 years at Ford. And he's just like,
That's crazy.
Local Blue Notes?
Yeah, local. Just Michigan band.
Okay.
Yep.
At that time, where would it have been based out of? Like
Dearborn.
Okay.
Yeah,
so basically a Detroit band. They would probably been called at that point.
I bet your dad knows about them.
Probably, for sure.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, they used to do a lot of stuff. The Wayne Ford Show Bar, and there's all sort of things. I'm trying to remember some of the names he used to say. My dad's been gone for 10 years now, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
sorry to hear that.
No, he still lives on with me. And a good friend of mine had said, people that know you have met your dad. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I really appreciate that because that's going to live on with me.
So you're 39, you're 20. I lost my dad right around 30 as well. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was 29.
Yeah.
I will never forget. Obviously, I knew your dad real well, Big T, and I remember hearing that news, and I remember seeing you the very next day. It was very solemn, and unfortunately, that was at Smashing Pumpkins concert.
Yeah,
we all met downtown.
It's tough. I mean, life goes on.
You just you guys found out the day before. You went to the show. I think it was probably because there was like 10 of us. It was a good environment to be around and support and everything else.
It's good to have that support.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring up a bed, but
I
only said that because I was right around the same age when I
you know what?
That's interesting.
Like I said, we talk about everything here. One thing the one thing that I've learned from doing all of this is what was lacking in my life was just human connection.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
get that. It's hard to meet people when you get
I got
older.
my blinders on. I got work. I'm coming home. I'm doing family. I'm going to soccer. I'm going to cheerleading. I'm doing, and you just, it's like you're on. I got to call out Sunvolt. I think the song is Grindstone, where it's like you're at the treadmill of life.
Yeah.
It's just nonstop, and that's what it's kind of about, right?
Yeah.
And you just got to actually take time for yourself. And that was the whole reason I did this, because there was some things that I realized. I'm like, no matter what, I know one Saturday a month, me and Neil are going to hang out.
I love that.
We're doing 2 episodes at one Saturday a month. Unfortunately, today it didn't work out, but we got
just one today. But I'm.
Normally I'd probably be about 4 of these in the first episode, and I'd be about 4 more in the second one. And so it's like, I'm gonna hang out with Neil. We're gonna have fun, and I don't drink a lot.
For those that don't know the time, it's like 9 a.m.
Yeah,
9. I was like 7.
Yeah, sometimes
it's actually 7.
Well, yeah, we were pregame and getting ready for the show. I mean, very serious stuff written down.
I wanted to ask you, do you guys, you said you grew up kind of in the Dearborn Heights area.
So I grew up in Livonia.
And
then moved, obviously, to UAD. I lived on campus.
Okay.
And then lived in Westland for quite a while, then finally moved out here to Howell.
Okay.
So what was the question?
My question was, do you guys remember a bar called Mr. Z's?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was my first gig.
Mr. Z's, that was right on...
5 Mile and Inkster.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was in 5th grade. I was 10, and I was playing a bar.
No shit. I was 10.
With the Blue Notes, my dad's band.
Yeah,
so I'll tell you what,
awesome.
Hell yeah,
the first song I ever played was Run Around Sue by Dion and the Belmonts.
I know it.
And one of my dad's favorite songs in the whole world, one of my songs, and I actually have a picture from that gig in my office.
I love it.
That is just me and my dad playing sax now, and not to continue the feels too much, but my son is 10 now, and he chose to play saxophone. He's playing my old alto, and we got a picture together. So
that's
I'm gonna
awesome.
be framing it right next to it. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. It's the circle of life.
I like how you said
Yes,
he chose
absolutely.
to. That tells me that.
Yeah, no, he was trying to choose between a couple instruments, but I just said, hey, if you ever with saxophone specifically, I can help you with this. I can be your private instructor anytime you need. So it's kind of nice. I remember growing up and running into issues and with music or needing extra things, and my dad would just write it down for me. And even when I'm playing with that Eric the Red Band, or if it's when I played with the Phenomenals, or I played with a band called Moose and the Sharks, which I wanted to talk about. But
hey, just so you know, we can go Rogan on this one and go 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
don't worry about it. We can talk about whatever you want,
as
bro.
you want to. Yeah.
You know what? The more you talk, the less work we got to do.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, tell me to shut up if you need me.
No. This is great, dude. No, this is awesome.
I like it. Yeah, I wanted to say though that
Moose and the Sharks. I fucking want to hear about it.
Yeah, but
everybody does.
In my music book, a lot of the stuff I still read is stuff that my dad wrote down for me.
Okay.
So when you were saying about finding time for yourself, it's like sometimes the time for myself is being on stage. Yeah. Because I can sit there, I can read the music that he wrote for me. Everything kind of swirls around you, and it's like kind of like a piece. But
I totally get it.
You're jamming out. So
I totally get it. I will say what you just described is like me when I go to a show and being in the crowd.
Yeah,
it's just like I'm completely in my own element.
Yeah.
There's times where, as far as I'm concerned, I'm the only person there, you just totally are so immersed
really
into it,
I love that. That's how everybody should experience a concert.
Right, and that's... And as a musician yourself, we're not musicians.
Right.
We go to
keep
shows.
Forgetting that.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just fans.
Fucking dig
that's really where this comes from.
Thanks, man.
That's something that, a lot of people we've talked to who are musicians, they're like getting that moment, just, wow, it's rad. I wish I could experience that.
And that's what,
But
cool as we dig a little deeper here is because, the difference between like when you're playing on stage versus being the fan.
Yeah.
But I do want to finish the point where, about missing that healing connection. Because to say it, I was like in a rut.
Yeah.
And you don't realize like how much, if you're not getting out there, you're not talking to people. So now I'm going places. I'm going to shows and I'm talking to random people like I would never do, and it's just totally kind of almost rejuvenated me, I'll say, and got me out of that.
Yeah.
And it's a lot goes to be said about like the mental health and just talking to people and having genuine relationships and and whether you know them for 5 minutes or 500 years, whatever, but that was almost the unforeseen benefit of doing all of this. I knew the benefit. I'd hang out with Neil. I knew I would go to a ton of shows, but it's like almost creating our own little community too, and like
I like that, Cal.
Yeah, like kind of going to a show, you have that community. Like Two Dudes is kind of like this little community we got now. So, You know, that's my thing. You know, that's my feels.
I love it. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And to go back to what Neil was asking about the bands, you know, I just wanted to add that one more thing about Moose. You know, those guys. I mean, they Moose had, you know, early when I was in college. Actually, he
Where'd you go? I'm sorry.
Oh, I started at Schoolcraft, and then I went to Madonna University, which
which was actually I was at 5. I grew up in Castle Garden Sub, which is like 5 in Newburgh, right across the street from there.
Yeah. So Madonna University holds a special place in my heart. I love that.
Good soccer team
I love
too.
that college.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and they got a football program now.
I saw
really
that.
Growing, so
I didn't really. Yeah, I saw that just the other day. A post. I'm like, wait, Madonna football now?
Yeah, they're building a new stadium back there, which is actually going to be a new venue for musicians.
No shit.
Right there on that, that whole square mile there.
No, really.
Yeah.
How many? How many?
It's like a 5,000 seat stadium that they're supposed to be built.
That's a sweet spot.
That's going to be great. Yeah.
You know, that's those bands where they're big, but they haven't quite made it yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no.
Or they're really big bands and they're just going to put out an awesome show.
Well, sometimes you get like, you know,
and
like I saw
play some football there too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Think about the bands.
Exactly. I saw
football.
I saw Bob Dylan though, Michigan Theater in Ann Arbor, and that was
nice.
That was a perfect show. That was I think that was right before COVID.
Okay.
I think that was like January or February 2020.
It's nice when you can catch one like that in a real small venue still.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and to see a legend like that was just
how did he
incredible.
Yeah, how did it sound?
How was his voice?
Well, I mean, you know,
I genuinely asked.
I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan.
I love Bob
Dylan, but I mean,
I don't care about his voice. Like, I think a lot of people's like, oh, that guy has a terrible voice. I don't think anybody really has a terrible voice.
You know, his voice has definitely changed over the years, right? I mean, his last album, I listened to, there's a song on there called I Contain Multitudes. I don't know if you guys heard that song, but you got to listen to it because for whatever reason, it just like hit me, you know. It's and he's really, I feel like in that song has really gotten like deeper within himself, you know, like you can tell he's pulling something from the bottom of his soul.
Wow, that's right.
You know, so his voice wasn't perfect. I couldn't hear all the words, but you know,
but you never could even in the 70s and 80s. So I mean,
I'm sitting there, and like you're describing, you know, I was just like, I am here, and I am solely in this,
right on,
and I am all about Bob Dylan, and you know, when I was younger, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever like Bob Dylan, but I grew into it, and I've really become a fan.
Had you seen him before then?
I had not.
So I've never seen him.
Okay.
No.
I wouldn't call myself a huge Bob Dylan fan, but I think, you know, I felt like at some point, whether it was in high school or in college, it was like you were issued his greatest hits CD.
Okay.
You know, they had Rainy Day Women, 12 and 35 or whatever, and all those. So that's what I started out on, right?
Okay.
You know? And I've always loved it. Actually, his Desire album.
Desire's a great album.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, I'm not
trying to
guy.
think.
Also CD, but it had Hurricane was on it.
Hurricane.
Which was the reason why I bought the CD. Because I was always the one, like, if I would hear a song, I would actually go buy the CD.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a ton of money, so I didn't have a ton of CDs. But I'd be
Columbia.
like... Right, Columbia. Yeah, I took advantage of DMG, Columbia. Hey, find me, bitches.
Right here.
Good luck.
You still trying to collect my money, Columbia? Fuck
You're never going to find us addressed through the body.
I love it.
But, no, so obviously, Hurricane. I love that song.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, rather than buying...
Ruben Carter.
Yes, Ruben Carter. And then the movie with Denzel. It's such a great, powerful song.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, I was always the guy, too, that when I would travel for work driving, I'd pop the CD and I played it from first song to last.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, play my favorite song.
There's a song on there called Sarah, right? Is Sarah on there?
I think so, but there is a song, if you remember, it's called Isis.
Oh, yeah.
I married Isis on the 5th day of May, blah, blah, blah. Well, me and my brother, after high school and college, I kind of moved in with him in Westland, and we always had dogs our whole life, and we kind of made the habit of naming them after songs.
Okay.
So he had Chloe, named after like Chloe Dancer from Mother Love Bone.
Okay.
He had Luca. My name is Luca.
Wow.
Well, I had Isis,
which
is the Egyptian goddess of the earth.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's changed over the years.
Yeah, it's been a little change. So then, golden retriever was always my favorite dog. So Isis is a golden retriever. Mm-hmm. She's 12 years old.
Sarah was on Desire, by the way.
I thought it was.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And unfortunately, she made it about 12 years old, and we had to go put her down. And my kids were young, and they made the most beautiful little sign that said, "We love you, Isis." And it was at the same exact time where I said we could never put this up or post this or do anything with this. And unfortunately, it's like that name was bastardized over it, No, it's kind of, I'll say it's a funny little story. But
I mean, I do a lot, with the life sciences industry, and there was Isis Pharmaceuticals. And so they had the same thing from a crisis communication standpoint. It's like, how do you get people to realize that this name that a lot of people might have attached themselves to in different ways is now
actually used to be a beautiful thing.
Unfortunately,
the basis of it is a beautiful thing, right? And
it goes back to authenticity and telling a good story. But,
absolutely.
You can keep that that picture for yourself, but the memory still
is in the box. And someday it might be brought up. But so I did want to actually say, we did update the whole studio and everything. We got some new pictures. A couple things I did want to call. First, the Billy Bragg one. I just went and saw him in October. Never was a Billy Bragg fan at all until the Mermaid Avenue albums came out with Wilco. Okay. And I don't know if you're familiar with those at all.
I mean, I know Wilco, but
so this was actually Woody Guthrie. He had a whole bunch of lyrics that his family had, and they actually, almost commissioned Wilco and Billy Bragg to put the music and everything to them. Okay. And they've actually now got 3 volumes, 1, 2, and 3, Mermaid Avenue. So that's how I was introduced to Billy Bragg, and. Of course, and I followed a lot of the solo stuff. So anyway, we played the Majestic in downtown, and the Majestic is like one of my favorite places. Yeah, it's like maybe 1,000 people or whatever. Yeah. Wide open, it's great, but it's got great sound because it's an actual theater. Yeah. So me and my buddy Keith, we go to the merch stand, and Keith buys, like this tapestry little thing, which is cool. Yeah. And a lot of times we'll get shirts. But I'm like, you know what? Actually, I really like that poster. Mm-hmm. And so the guy hands to me, he goes, $35. He goes, every single poster signed by Billy Bragg. Wow. I'm like, oh, no shit, that's really cool.
That's cool.
Keith is like, man, I wish I would have known that. The guy just looks at him dead in the face and goes, we want you to buy the poster, not the signature.
I love it, and it's numbered 102 out of 125. So
it's probably gonna be worth really like $1 million in like
totally
3 weeks.
But dude, he's been going at it for 40 years. Wow. And it was just him up there with an electric guitar, and then a dude that would play like on the keys at some point. But mostly it was just him. It was super cool. That.
I love the story too. What you're saying about Woody Guthrie. I mean, I can really appreciate that stuff. It's one of my favorite albums in recent years. Is I mentioned Dion and the Belmonts before, right? Dion DiMucci is one of my favorite singers, and he's had some really great blues albums in recent years. If you guys love blues, but there was an album.
No genre off limits. Two dudes.
There was an album lost for 50 years called Kickin' Child.
Okay.
And they released it in 2017. But that is an album that I can listen to front to back and have no problem with it. It is an incredible album. He covers a couple Dylan songs on there. Oh, yeah. And, it's all stuff, though, that he recorded in the late 60s. And they had such I think it was Columbia, actually. You mentioned Columbia. They had such a problem with him transitioning from being like the teen star to more of the, Dylan-esque type stuff that they just shelved the whole project. And after
50 years,
that was his downfall. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, no,
Pretty great album though. If you
That's
guys,
awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you the link afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
Or the list. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Well, the only other thing I actually wanted to call, the Blues Traveler. I went to that in October. That was super cool. And actually, they brought out, and I don't even know how it happened or whatever, but the guitarist of the Spin Doctors. Do you remember them?
Yeah, I remember them.
And John Popper.
What go ahead. They have very many better songs.
You should be in a band.
Yeah.
Like it.
Oh, well, he was actually, he's an award-winning singer.
Yeah.
He was the 8th grade student of the month for the choir.
Don't. You're putting me way up on it.
Come on, you deserve it.
That's incredible.
No, but I wanted to say my daughter actually painted this Smashing Pumpkins picture.
Amazing.
Because I've always said it's my favorite band. And I'd said to her, I was like, I loved him when Billy had long hair. So that's why she painted this one. So then I felt bad because I didn't have anything that my son created. And actually, the reason I have that up there was my son. Went and saw Tyler, the Creator.
Okay.
And I drove him and his friends, and then my daughter followed in another car at LCA. Never heard of him. Know they like him, whatever. But, oh my God, it was an amazing fucking show.
Okay.
I mean, I always say I haven't been to a ton of rap concerts or hip-hop, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And he owned that place, and there wasn't one person on stage besides him. And he went from stage to small. I mean, it was awesome. So much so that now me and my wife are going to see him at LCA in July.
Okay.
And my kids were all
good.
Yeah, no, it was, and I had no intent of even going.
That good, but
and
I trust Cal's.
And like I said, like for me, I'm not even really paying attention to lyrics or anything else. It's just that crowd, and it was just insane. I mean, just watching the sea of people, just the reaction of it.
Okay.
And I'd never seen just a single person. Because usually, no matter what, they have some sort of support. There was not a single person out there. It was nuts, dude.
Wow.
And but anyway, so that's Tyler, the Creator, and then A$AP Rocky up there. So then over there, I have my son's portrait of A$AP Rocky that he created.
I love it.
Yeah, it is actually. Avery, there's nothing wrong with him. He's okay. And that was actually his portrait of A$AP Rocky in his high school art class.
Looks just like him.
He has no art skills whatsoever. But you know what? He's on the wall. He's on the wall. He made it.
I love it. That's a good dad.
With his full support. We made sure, like, are you okay with this? He's like, yeah, I love it.
Hashtag dad.
Well, we found it in this book. He's like, well, you know what? He goes, I stuck it in there a long time ago. For someday, someone would open it up and find it. I'm like, oh my God, we found it. It's going up.
That's incredible. I love it. Are you guys big hip hop fans?
To be honest, yes.
I
grew up in like the mid to late '80s hip hop.
Okay.
So like KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions, Eric B. Obviously Beastie Boys and Run DMC.
Like that. The Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
What about you, Don? Are you a hip hop fan?
And then, but you know what? Like a lot of today's stuff, I don't necessarily connect with. Yeah. But
a lot of people are saying that, right?
It's different, dude.
It's definitely, going in
before
you
get it, I know you want to get into something here, but
it's all good.
Before December 14th, Ice Cube, EPMD, there's someone and two others are playing the Fox Theater.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I'm like, how did I not even hear about this? Like,
I feel like there's a lot of shows going under the radar right now.
Exactly, and now they're announcing like everything for next summer. It's like,
are they?
Everything's starting to come through now.
December is so busy for me that I haven't barely looked up from my computer other than to drive out here. So
speaking of shows, stuff like, do you remember your very first show?
The very first concert I was at?
Went to, yeah.
I was thinking about that, and it's talking about the 80s. I'm slightly embarrassed to say this, but the earliest show that I can remember being at, do you guys remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Absolutely.
Are you guys Turtles fans? You get Turtle Power?
Yeah.
I know enough.
Raphael's my best.
Splinter? Michelangelo and Leonardo?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I know enough. For some chick, I forget what her name was.
April O'Neil.
O'Neil, that's right.
Yeah, okay. So me and my brother, I'm Don McLean, right? But growing up, Donnie
Right.
So Donatello, they called him Donnie, and my brother's Michael, and they called him Mikey. So we were the, you know,
you guys were like
we were the turtles,
Yeah,
right? My first concert that I was at was the Turtles Coming Out of Their Shells tour.
That's hilarious. I love it.
So
Though.
it's
Where
like,
at?
We're the Turtles. You can count on us.
Yeah.
You know. So
where was it at?
but you know what?
That's fun.
I was
I
so
don't
young.
even
I can't even remember. Yeah, I went with my aunt. And,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was early, but
So
you know,
I
had a little bit
I
of a
told you
different-
mine was Aerosmith, but
Yeah.
technically my very first concert was a Christian band called Petra
Okay.
that I went to with my buddy
Okay.
when we were in elementary school.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
sweet.
The
But I
first-
will say I remember,
Yeah.
you know, the only thing I remember about that whole thing was the bass player.
Okay.
Because that bass solo, he was
Let's
just
see.
fucking tearing it up.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. That's great. So the first concert that I remember asking to go to was Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons. So you see him a lot on social media right now. He's getting torn up, right? Because he's 91.
Right.
He's
How do
having
they?
a hard time.
Who's carting him out there? I feel so bad. It doesn't even look like he's singing anymore. He just.
I mean, even when I was younger, my dad had questions about whether he was still hitting those notes.
Right. Well, my kids.
So-
I'm sitting watching TV, and my kids, and their girlfriends or whatever, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Has anybody been sending you those Frankie Valli videos?"
There's a lot of
And, like, I'm
videos
hear-
right
and then
now.
I'm hearing
I feel
that-
so bad for him.
And at first, I'm like, "Wait, Frankie Valli?" And they're like, "Oh, you haven't seen him?" And like,
Yeah.
but they're not sending him as funny. They're sending him as, "This is horrible.
Well,
What
a
are
lot
they
of people
doing?"
are concerned for him.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think.
but that was.
I think he does want to be out there. I do.
That's the
I
thing,
think
too.
that as
if
a
he's got
musician,
his, got his faculties and he wants to go out and still kind of do it, then I'm all for that. But
Yeah.
you just wonder what's really going on there, right?
you really don't know.
And that was your-
I love that Jersey Boys movie, but
Yeah.
but
So that was
the
your very
concert
first
I
show.
asked to. My mom, me and my mom went, and it was at Andiamo in
Okay.
Oh, nice.
West Bloomfield. There, right when they first opened that room.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and that's a good little venue.
I was
by
going
the
to say,
way.
they have
that's
some nice little shows there,
They
don't
do. They really do. Yeah,
Gosh
Joe
darn.
Vicari and
I've
they know what
never
they're
been.
doing over there.
So-
you know.
Yeah.
What time frame would that have been? Approximately.
I was definitely in high school. I was probably 14. It was probably when I was really doing a lot with the bands. I was.
So I mean, he was still actually probably performing.
Oh yeah, no. I
you're
mean,
in a
it was
small little
probably
place.
the best
That was
time to
probably
see
pretty
him.
sweet.
Yeah.
Damn.
Kind of that one where they've hit their peak, so they're doing smaller places. It's
Exactly.
nice and intimate, and it's still
Yeah,
really good.
it was in the middle between like when he was super popular when he was younger, and before he started playing the Fox and all that stuff again.
Right.
And I think he was just at the Fox.
Right before he made
know.
the resurgence.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That in between stage.
And all those guys. I mean, I had tickets to see Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis in concert, and I really wanted to see this show because the whole thing about. Chuck Berry wants to close the show. Jerry Lee Lewis, he's like, I'm gonna burn that piano down. And I was all for it because I loved, when Winona Ryder and Dennis Quaid did that Jerry Lee Lewis movie.
That was
I
a great movie.
Oh, such a great. All those movies from the '90s, like the Temptations movie and the Beach Boys and Jackson 5 movie.
People dog the Doors movie. But I think it
Val
was
Kilmer.
Val Kilmer, and I mean it was an
Yeah.
Oliver Stone movie, and I
Yeah.
think it was a pretty good representation.
Yeah.
Probably,
I love
not
those
everyone's
movies.
gonna love it, but
Yeah.
I think that there was some good movies that came out
Yeah.
back then with that.
And any of the music movies, I'm a really big fan of. So, like Blues Brothers, we
Oh,
mentioned,
God,
right?
yeah.
And then one of my favorite music movies, other than Blues Brothers, is Eddie and the Cruisers.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, you guys remember that?
Oh
movie?
yes, Michael Paré.
Yeah,
whatever it is. Yeah,
On the Dark Side.
Yes.
Tom Berenger.
Yes.
Tom
Oh my
Berenger.
God, on the dark side.
I mean, that song.
I haven't heard.
That song is a killer song.
Yes, it is.
Without the movie, right? So if you haven't listened to that in a while, I would recommend.
So that's a real song, or did they make that just for them to sing
John
it in?
Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band.
Okay.
You guys remember those guys? They were like
John Cafferty sounds familiar, but
yeah, so kind of like Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
You get the Springsteen feels out of it, which
Okay.
I'm big fan of the Boss,
Yep.
right?
So he's probably in your Forever Five, I'm assuming.
Not a big fan of the boss, but whatever.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. He goes, I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry. Maybe one day.
I am not the largest fan.
Day.
I understand it.
Yeah.
I used to listen, in the 80s, obviously, back then you couldn't avoid them.
I'll bet.
And so back then you're like, hey, this is awesome, but it's not I've never seen them live. It's not something I really followed through their career. Okay. And that's something that I'm infamous for, though, as well. Okay. Like, I catch a band at this point in time, and that's kind of what I listen to from
a lot of
band.
people do that.
But I've started to do more of listening. Like Wilco's a perfect one.
Okay.
Like, between AM, Being There, Summer Teeth, Yankee, all in, listen to every single song ever.
Okay. Yeah.
Ghost is Born I never even really owned, but I've done that one, and then anything after I've never listened to once.
Okay. The only thing about Bruce, if you haven't listened to him in a while, I'd say not his latest album, but one of the latest ones he put out is called Western Stars. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a country album, but it gives some really great vibes. I would definitely just turn it on, listen to a few of the songs. For me, sometimes it's just a really good, it helps me center a little bit. I dig it. So, but I mentioned Eddie and the Cruisers, and I just want to come back to one thing that I always love, kind of the greaser stuff, right? Like the 50s and the 60s, like I was telling you. Yeah, that Outsider, great movie, and Stay Golden, Pony Boy, right? That should be your sign off, right?
Pony
Boy. Kind of that stuff. It got me really loving, that whole vibe, right? And Moose and the Sharks, they were when I played with those guys, they definitely they had the greaser vibe, right? Okay. And they were do you remember the band from the 70s called Sha Na Na?
Oh,
Bowser.
Yeah,
exactly.
I watched with my dad religiously.
So Moose is he was like the Midwest Bowser, right? These guys, Moose and the Sharks started in '72, and they went on to play for 50 years. I played with their last show with them in 2022, and they're actually in the Michigan Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and if you haven't visited it, it's out on the east side. You should go take a look.
100%.
There's a plaque of Moose and the Sharks there, and slight call out. I am the youngest member of the Michigan Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
I played with Moose and the Sharks.
So quick question: where is that actually at? You said it's on the east side.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Okay, no
worries. Exactly the location, but
so we actually have 2/3 here are Hall of Famers. Because I'm actually in the Hall of Fame at UAD for soccer.
That's
as a goalie. Yes.
Okay, as a goalie.
I was inducted in 2007.
Congratulations.
11 years after I was done playing.
Wow. That's amazing.
I was the first male soccer player, and then Cindy Fix was the first female. We were inducted on the same day.
Incredible. Yep. Wow. Congratulations.
Same to you. I mean, it's just one of those things that they can never take away from you.
Yeah.
It's something you can look back, be proud of.
Yeah.
A point in time.
Right back.
Yeah. But don't let it define you.
Absolutely. No, for sure. No,
keep going.
I played for a lot of years with Moose and the guys, and I really wish we could still play. At some point, I think they just needed time apart. But after 50 years, right?
I've got to imagine you're probably
And I want to do one shout out real quick. So they had a couple albums in the 70s, and you guys know the MC5, right? Mm-hmm. They were just, so Wayne Kramer,
right?
He was actually, unfortunately.
Were they?
Wayne Kramer was on Moose's first album.
Really?
The Moose and the Sharks album, Wayne Kramer from the MC5 is on there.
Wayne Kramer the bass or?
No, he was playing guitar.
He was
Guitarist?
Yeah.
Playing guitar on Moose's album, so
that's awesome.
It's pretty kind of cool, I had a lot of run-ins like that over the years of playing music, where it's there's a lot of just run into a lot of famous people.
Right.
You guys know Bob Seger, and
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I before the podcast I was telling you how I used to close bars on Wednesday nights in high school, right? So I'm playing one Wednesday night with my dad's friends, which a lot of my dad's friends. They grew up playing in some of my favorite bands from the 50s and 60s. shout out to Lynn Bruce from Johnny and the Hurricanes. That was a great band.
Johnny
But
and the Hurricanes.
they were instrumental group from the 50s.
Love the name.
Man. Oh,
Johnny
great.
and the Hurricanes.
I'll tell you what, it's some great music. I love instrumentals.
You know who is actually a very good instrumental artist that a lot of people don't realize how much instrumental he plays is Billy Strings.
Okay, nice.
When we went to that show. And
that guy's amazing.
Yeah, he is.
You get some great instrumental songs, though, and you can dive into those.
Oh,
man. And you can work to them
Dude,
as well. You can play them during your work day and not be too distracted.
We had never been to a Billy Strings show, and then we went to Pine Knob. It was the last concert of the season.
Yeah.
Billy Strings closed it out. He's from Ionia or whatever.
Okay.
Second night for him. And it's like a Grateful Dead, Fish type vibe. The whole pregame in the parking lot, the tailgate is just what you would expect at one of those shows.
I love it.
Oh my God, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And then you walk in and it's just,
Yeah.
it's just that whole vibe.
Yeah.
And I actually took a video because, like, as I'm walking in, you feel it before you know Pine Knob, right? So you're walking around and you just feel everything before you see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh fuck it! I actually turned on my video and I'm walking in and you just see the people dancing, the music going, and it was just awesome.
You don't even have to be on drugs.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I'm playing that Wednesday, closing the bar that one night, and all of a sudden somebody's like, "Hey, Alto Reed's sitting in that back booth there." The sax player from Bob Seger, in the Silver Bullet Band. And he said he liked the way I played sax, and to me I was like, okay, well, I'll take that.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah, man. So I got to play with a lot of good sax players over the years. Though one of my favorites that sort of
I wish I would have known this. You could have brought the damn thing and closed the stout or something, bro.
Maybe, yeah. The guy who reminds me of playing with my dad was.
You do a video. And
I'll go home. It'll be the worst thing where we try to make it look like he's here.
I love it.
Who's this guy?
Oh man, I know I'm going off the rails here.
It don't matter.
It
don't matter at all.
Yeah, I love playing with this guy though. His name's George Kasakis, and he used to have a band. He played on Dick Clark's American Bandstand in the '50s. He's from Dearborn. He had a band called the Royal Tones, and they had a hit that was in the top 10 called Poor Boy. And I was playing with this band called Cosmic Groove for a number of years. He's a good band that plays out of the east side as well. They do a lot of gigs around here. I played Comerica Park with them just a couple months ago. And
what do you mean you played Comerica Park? Like
at the Tigers game.
Right
on stage.
Well, no, that's what I mean, like, was it like a little side thing, or like we on the thing where that's awesome.
Sometimes they have bands there, like at the Big Cat Court. There.
Right.
Yeah, so
the Big Cat.
No, I get you. No, that's sweet.
That Big Cat Court.
I love that they do that because not everyone just wants to sit and watch a fucking baseball game. So people are walking around. You can have music.
Well, it's before the game, right? They don't let the bands play during the game.
We get that.
But
fucking baseball.
Why
don't they let the bands play during a baseball game? I'm just kidding.
No.
I don't know. I think I know where I'd be.
Hey, man,
I haven't been to a baseball game in a while.
Yeah. Me and George Kasakis used to play together in that band. We actually convinced them to have two sax players because that's what put George and his band set them apart in the 50s was they had two saxophonists.
Okay.
Most bands in the 50s had the one sax player who was like the 80s lead guitar player, right? In the 50s, it was the lead sax player.
Right.
So the saxophone was like the lead instrument. So, we had convinced them to do two saxes, and, we both played the same model sax because my dad gave me his. And they both bought them from the same music store in the early 60s or late 50s. And so it's kind of cool for those two saxophones, which, they have the very much the same, like, tone, and I could play like he plays. And so it kind of gave us this really beautiful marriage of these two saxophones playing together. And we call it, a pair of sixes because they're Mark VI saxophones.
Nice.
And so, yeah, it was a pretty cool experience.
That's cool.
But, so in those ways, I still get to honor my father and play the music. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool, man.
Dig.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That reminds me of, we just saw Peter Hook in the Light.
Okay.
And,
nice.
Royal Oak.
Okay.
And they have 2 bass players.
Okay.
Obviously Peter Hook, and then they got usually it's his son.
Okay.
Who is the bass player for Smashing Pumpkins.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's been playing with Pumpkins for, I think, 7-8 years.
2
now.
Bass players, though. That's pretty. That's pretty innovative. You know, like I like those things like that where you just turn things out just enough. So it's
it's almost like, you know, Hookie's like doing his stuff, but then when he's singing, you know, someone else kind of, you know.
Okay.
Like, But it was a really cool show, and it's like I never really knew the background of all that. You know, obviously I knew he was in Joy Division and New Order. And, But New Order's still out, and Peter Hook still plays all the New Order songs. But what it is he has his band. They play like 2 sets, and they do like a whole New Order set, and they do a Joy Division set.
Wow.
Peter Hook sings, and another dude sings, so it's like not the best like vocals, but
it's still them.
It's
and they're
still
still
cool.
doing it.
Yeah,
you get to experience it. So.
You know, and then the New Order thing, they're doing their own thing, and it's like kind of weird because you know, but whatever.
You know, the one thing that I realized over the years of being a musician and going to concerts is you can't always expect it to be like it was, you know, and you have to just experience things for what they are now. You know, like I went to see the Beach Boys for their 50th anniversary concert, and they brought Brian Wilson back, right?
Yep.
And that was at Pine Knob, sitting on the hill, you know, and you got the beautiful night, right? The Beach Boys are playing, and I don't know if you guys like the Beach Boys or not, but
the Beach Boys.
you know, they definitely changed music in their own way, and I just having them all back together as much as they could be was a very surreal experience, and they sounded incredible. Now, I went to see them this last year out at Meadowbrook, right?
Right. Yep.
And John Stamos was there, so I took my wife because she's the biggest John Stamos fan. And so, you know.
Who isn't?
Neil is too. Don't let him fool you.
Love it.
No, he's great, man.
In fact, if Neil takes his hat off, he's got John Stamos' hair.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even realize it. I have a full head of John Stamos hair.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, and, you know, were they perfect? No, they weren't perfect. But they were still out there. They were still doing their thing. And it was incredible to see, you know. So over the years, you know, you just get to experience things in different ways. And it's part of being a music fan, you know.
100%. And you mentioned the Doors earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all,
Parade, right?
Yeah.
So,
Which,
yeah.
I love that album.
Yeah. Great.
You know,
album.
I think it's a very
Great
underrated album by them.
Yeah.
But me and Neil, back, 20 plus years ago now, we saw the Doors of the 21st century.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was Robert
At
Krieger.
Pine Knob.
Yeah, Pine Knob.
Ray Manzarek was there?
Manzarek, Krieger, Densmore wasn't, and then Ian Astbury from The Cult was the singer.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was awesome.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, even though it obviously
new experience,
right?
Yeah.
And, but you were seeing 2 of the original members of the Doors, and like 2 very pivotal, like Manzarek and Krieger. I mean,
I appreciate it now, but I wish I could go back and really appreciate. You know,
right? I mean, it would have been great if Densmore was there and you had the trifecta of the 4 that are still around. But it was still super cool, and like you said, you have to go into it that mindset. You're always going to be disappointed.
Yeah, you don't want to come away from something you're looking so forward to and being disappointed with it, right? Like, you got to just experience it for what it is, and musicians change and they feel different. You know, like we were talking about Bob Dylan. I mean, you know, things just like how many more times are you going to get to see Bob Dylan? How many more times are you going to get to see anybody?
We say that all the time here.
Yeah, just go.
If you have a chance to
anybody,
go, especially if you've never seen them and you want to see them, go. Whether they're 40, 50, 80, whatever. You never know.
It's like Chris Cornell when he came to the Fox.
That's the one we always use.
Yeah.
And it was here in Detroit. And I said, I will see him next time.
No.
I have a band.
But it wasn't even Chris Cornell. It was Soundgarden. Like, they were back together. Like, they hadn't, you know, and it was like, I'll see him next time. And literally in Detroit, that's it.
I have a band.
It's unbelievable.
I've said it before, but REM, never seen them live. And that's one of my forever fives for sure.
Go to that show with us.
And they're obviously no longer touring. They're done.
Yeah, they're done.
I would love to see REM. Just fucking. Maybe they might though.
You never know.
I'm
I mean,
hoping.
I went to Motley Crue's last concert at the
like
Palace.
7 times.
Yeah. You know, it's like you don't know. That's why you got to just go into it.
Right.
You know, like I told you, I grew up listening to all the 50s and 60s groups, and for me, I was, you know, all of a sudden one day, and this wasn't that long ago, maybe within the last year, I just realized like, I think I missed my chance. I think I missed my chance to see more of those great acts like Frankie Valli, just because of the fact that, you know, I'm looking out now and I'm seeing like, oh well, Aerosmith, they're done.
Yeah.
Who else is done that, you know? It's like, well, it's always like when they do the Back to the Future thing. They're like, you know, if they went Back to the Future now, it would be 1994. They'd go back to it. And I'm like, oh God.
I know.
You know.
So I'm going to call it out right now.
Yeah.
The one that I saw this year that my guarantee that you probably won't see again is Neil Young and Crazy Horse.
Okay. Yeah,
I saw him at Pine Knob.
Keep Me Searching for a Heart of Gold.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was one of my higher rated videos was Heart of Gold.
Okay. Yeah.
And but
I mean, a lot of great songs.
They played Pine Knob.
Yeah, a lot of great songs.
The next night they canceled Chicago, and I mean the dude's like 78 years old or something.
Yeah.
Like how much more do they really have?
Yeah,
I will say he
guys
still
out
sounded great.
Yeah.
You know, like you look at videos like 30 years ago, does he sound like that? Well, fuck no, he don't sound like that. No one's going to.
That's true.
That's what you have to, you know, Smashing Pumpkins.
That's why you still have that old music. You can listen to it anytime
I use them
you want.
as an example because Smashing Pumpkins, they're back to their 3 out of the 4 members. Like, you're not going to get all 4. This is the group. But they're also not a nostalgia act. They still produce new music.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're not like a super fan, you might be disappointed if you go to a show because you want to hear this, and this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care what I hear. You know, if you play something new, cool, because I've never heard it before. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it depends on your fan, and some of it just depends on where you're at in your life too.
That's very true.
You know, like a song I heard 20 years ago, it was like, oh my God, I'll never hear a better song. If I heard it now, I'd be like, yeah, it's clunk. You know, it doesn't hit the same.
Yeah,
you know?
It's different.
We all have them.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Totally.
That's true. That's
you
very
know?
true.
And that's the beauty of live music is you go into it and you might have heard that song 10 times in live different times, but it hits you different.
Yeah.
You know, because of where you're at in life or where you're just at that day.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And so, you know, you got to see those shows when you can, right? I mean, you know, it's like Eddie Money always used to open the season at Pine Knob, right? Everybody just thought, we don't need to go every year or we don't need to go see him because, hey, he's going to be there next year.
All right.
And, you know, it's just not that way, right? You know, and everybody's aging. And it's so there's nothing wrong with that.
2 dudes actually opened Pine Knob with a tailgate episode this year with Sasanta, which was Primus, Pussifer, and the Perfect Circle.
Okay, I gotta listen to that one.
And then we closed Pine Knob with the tailgate with that Billy Strings one.
Okay,
not done on purpose whatsoever. It just happened to work out that way. But here we are saying that. Hey, that's everything we planned. It was perfect. Yeah, we executed it perfectly.
That's incredible. You're doing the hard work. You know, you're putting in the work.
No, those are the fun.
I mean, I love what
too.
You guys are doing with this podcast.
Those are the fun ones, like the tailgates, because I mean, for that Billy Strings, like I said, we'll just leave it going. You know, it was like 3.5 hours long.
Yeah.
By the time like what we did, it was like an hour and 10 minutes.
Sure.
You know, because we're just talking to people, having a blast. But I haven't had that much fun tailgating at a concert.
That was
ages.
That was a really good fun time.
It was a great environment.
Just the people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not just the people, but obviously the music. But
yeah, it was great.
Tailgating and look at all those.
So, one thing, you know, small venues versus festivals. What is your thing? Do you prefer to hit like kind of one-off shows or festivals or?
Yeah, no, I definitely prefer the more intimate venues. You know, like I told you, I grew up playing so much music that I had a little bit of I didn't go to as many concerts when I was younger because I was usually playing on those nights.
Playing?
You know, I was playing and I was doing, like I said, I was doing martial arts. I mean, I'm a 3rd degree black belt now, and when I was younger, it was I either had band practice, I had martial arts, I was working at an auto shop in downriver at Master Tech Automotive on 4th Street. And then I would, I was busy, man. I was super.
I laughed because you sound like me. It was like either soccer or it was school or it was Mr. Mustard's chicken and ribs.
Yeah, Mr. Mustard. I love it. Yeah. So the small venues, I definitely appreciate. You know, and I like I said about the Token. I drove by it a million times. I mean, up and down Joy Road all the time when I was younger, and never played it until 38, 39, and it was an incredible experience. But you can't really replicate some of those small venues. So even some of the big bands, they still want to do some of that. It's like
just to have that intimate.
Yeah.
It's the bands crave that and love it too as much as the crowd. Does, and that's what people don't realize.
Yeah, my buddy Craig, and shout out to Craig, by the way.
What up, Craig?
Yeah, man. He always he goes back to this one video, and if you guys haven't seen it, you should see it. It's when the Rolling Stones, they were playing in Chicago, and Muddy Waters was playing. Have you guys seen these videos?
Mm-hmm. No.
And
maybe, but go ahead.
They just walked in the club one night, and they get on stage and start playing with Muddy Waters. So you have Muddy Waters and the Stones in this small Chicago blues club, and the videos, somebody captured it. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
And it is just off the chain.
I'm gonna have to find that because that's funny because Chicago was one of my favorite places ever.
Okay.
And way back in the day, I remember going to a specific blues club, a few times when I was out there. I wonder if it would be the same one. It's very possible.
Man. You got to check it out.
Yeah,
got to check out those videos. Just go to YouTube.
Small venues and then the larger venues.
Yeah, and I would say that's where I'm at too. Like, I did Lollapalooza this year. I loved it. Just because there's just so many bands.
I want to go one.
So I went to all the old ones when it would travel. This is the first time I ever going to Chicago. I did all 4 days. Wow. I plan to do it next year.
I can't believe you did it. And you're going to go do it again.
You know what? And at first I was like, the lineup's not that great. But when you actually start planning out your days, how many bands can you actually see in a day?
It's true.
Yeah. And then when you actually look at every single day, you're like, wow, there's 5 bands I want to see. That pretty much covers everything. And then as you're walking the different ones, you catch a few songs here or there.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's nice.
That was where I actually said, you know what, it still is in the same vein of Lollapalooza when it started. Kind of like the newer alternative, indie bands. And there's a lot of that. And then there's a lot of the commercial stuff too.
Yeah.
But a lot of the headliners I'd never seen, so I was like, that's kind of Killers, Blink-182, Hozier.
Oh yeah.
But I'm more of you. I would love the theater venues. Obviously much more than an LCA or anything like that. Yeah. But
some of the festivals.
You did hit a festival, though.
Yeah, there's one festival, and shout out to your Woodstock, original ticket up
there. Yes. Shout out to Dio because that was my gift for standing up in his wedding. That's probably amazing. 20.
What up, Dio?
20 plus years ago now, I think.
I feel bad now because I didn't give any gifts when folks stand up in my wedding. So, but
he went way over and above. I got a ticket.
That's pretty.
A dude got signed Muhammad Ali gloves. Another dude who was a huge Pittsburgh Pirates fan or whatever got a piece of the actual turf of the original field when they demolished it and stuff. Yeah. He definitely outperformed.
Okay.
He definitely outperformed.
That's a good dude right there, though. Yeah. That's somebody that you want in your life, So,
Dio, check him out. I think it was season 2, episode 3-ish, somewhere around there. He was somewhere in there.
Neil,
we're at 26 now. Who the fuck knows?
Incredible, man.
I think it's
best co-host ever.
Season 1, episode 2, season 3.
So I wanted to bring this up because so you mentioned festivals, and I was getting excited when you were talking about this because I had to go back in my mind because I've never been to Lollapalooza or any of those other big festivals. Right. I was always working too much, had too much going on, but I went to one festival when and I think it was probably the best one I could have went to in high school. Especially for the music I like. And you guys remember the SARS outbreak that they had in Canada in the 2000s? Yeah. So,
which is actually worse than COVID, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember enough about
it. If you got it, you were pretty well.
Yeah.
It was not good.
So nobody went to Canada for that time.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was like, okay, we're just, you know,
It's kind of
Canada's off limits.
Yeah, same thing now. What? Just
no, we love Canada.
I do too. We love them.
oh yeah, but nobody's
Hey.
going there. Hey, where do you want to go? Canada? No, Florida.
Man, okay. All right. Well, anyways, so Toronto had this tourism thing. They're like, we need to bring people back to Canada. So they had SARS stock. Have you guys heard of this? They have the concert footage out there. You got to look it up. So listen to the headliners of
I
this.
think I know. Go
Wait,
ahead.
that was the name of the festival?
SARS stock. Well, I don't know if that was
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
That's what everybody called it.
I gotcha.
Yeah, man. So the headliners of this festival. Oh,
Check it out.
Sorry, I hit the mic there.
That's all right.
The Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Rush, The Guess Who, Justin Timberlake. They had the Blues Brothers. They had Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi there. They had the Isley Brothers. They had the Flaming Lips. They had all of these groups, and I got to experience all of it. And I was
crazy.
like, it was like $16.
How old were you?
I was maybe 15 or 16.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
this
SARS was like very early 2000s, I thought.
Yeah,
So,
so
yeah.
I graduated in 2004 from high school. So
Yeah, it was a.
yeah,
It was.
I mean, maybe I was.
It was probably like.
I forget what year it was.
2001 to 2004 is when SARS happened.
I've seen,
Yeah,
the,
so
I've
I
seen
was
the Guess Who before.
Between Guess
did?
Who's great.
Yeah.
When?
Detroit Riverfront.
Really?
Nice.
They're fucking banging, man. I mean, I saw them like 5-6 years ago. I mean,
It's a good group though.
Detroit
Yeah.
Riverfront.
Oh, yeah.
is awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
Went and
they had some
saw
good groups down there.
King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard at the Aretha.
Okay,
So
nice.
And
That's
they
the
are-
old Shane Park, right?
Yes, the
Yeah.
old Shane Park, and they are an Australian band.
Okay,
I would say they're like a progressive rock.
okay.
But the show they did at the Aretha was acoustic.
Okay.
So it was like,
Wow.
I'd never seen them before. My daughter was like, hey, listen to these guys. And
Yeah.
like at first when you hear like the electric stuff, I'm like, I don't know. But then you listen to more, it
Yeah.
grows on you. And then I'm like,
Nice.
all right. So when tickets came up, me and her went, me and my
That's
daughter.
cool.
And like,
Yeah.
I'm like, that was super cool. I'm like, now I want to see the electric part of it. you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
So
Even
the
though it might-
Rolling Stone, real quick.
Yeah, you said Rolling Stones because
Yeah. Yeah. Rolling
This
Stones, AC/DC. Yeah. Like I said,
AC/DC.
you know, Justin Timberlake was there too, which was kind of nuts. You know, Isley Brothers, the Blues Brothers, which I didn't even know they were going to be there. I thought to myself, like, I'd never see those guys, and it was really cool to be able to see.
So
because I'm a
actually,
big
Blues
fan.
Brothers at that time then had to have been Aykroyd and Jim.
Like I said,
Belushi.
Jim, not John.
Jim,
Yeah, of course.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, no.
But no, that was cool that actually Jim did kind of carry that on with Aykroyd,
Yeah,
right?
and he does a
they
pretty
did
good
the other
job
movie
now.
with it and everything.
Yeah.
Because that movie was awesome. Back to Sean Anna, by the way. You mentioned that earlier with Bowser.
Yeah.
Did you know Sean Anna played at Woodstock?
Yes. Yeah. I know. It's,
That is like
it's
one of
kinda
my
crazy,
favorite
man.
fun facts ever. Is that
Yeah.
it was at fucking Woodstock.
Yeah, you know, but they had their own way of really driving home some of that cool music,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
in a new way, right?
And there's like
they-
11 of them that would be up there, right? I mean, it was like a huge band, and they had like every instrument.
Yeah.
It seemed like
But
possible.
they play some of those songs so fast, like you couldn't even count it. Like
Uh-huh.
I was just like, what are they playing? Almost, but yeah, you know, yeah, Sha-Na-Na was there.
That's awesome.
I know, and
It's so
I'm a
funny.
big CCR fan, you know,
Okay.
Creedence Clearwater Revival, and
Sorry, we got to get in that. So Forever 5, you got Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, yeah,
right?
man.
So
Yeah.
who else we got in there?
we got Elvis.
Oh,
You know,
nice.
big
Nice.
Elvis Presley fan. Great large catalog.
Suspicious Minds is my favorite Elvis
Is
song
it?
ever.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
for the longest time, I forget what song it is, but Queen sings it.
Okay.
Little Thing Called Love or whatever. What is it? Crazy
Okay.
Little Thing Called Love. I always
Yeah.
thought that was Elvis that sang that
Okay.
for the longest time.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't remember this Elvis song, you know,
I
but it's
know.
cool. And then all of a sudden, like, it's Queen? What? You know,
Yeah,
I didn't
well,
realize that
I
until it
think-
would show up on my car when it would tell me
Yeah.
who sings it.
I think one thing that you used to hear, and especially like, you know, you were coming up a little bit earlier than me, right? Is they had all that Is Elvis Alive stuff, and they had they had a recorded version of that song of somebody that was, trying to pretend like Elvis was still alive.
Really?
That was his recorded song, and so it was a whole
crazy.
thing, And
I didn't know
funny. I didn't know that either.
There's still those theorists out there.
Now I get it, because to me it was like, oh my God, I thought that was Elvis this whole time.
Yeah, but my favorite, if you watch the movie That's the Way It Is, which is Elvis concert footage, it's his song "Walk a Mile in My Shoes," which is live from 1970, is hands down my favorite Elvis song and one of my favorite songs.
So you would say your killer tune?
It's a killer tune for sure.
Killer tune.
Yeah. I mean, killer tune in concert, that's a whole different thing. So I can hit that quickly, but Elvis is in the top 5, and then you want me to hit the killer tune first?
Whatever. Go where you want to go. We're just a conduit for you.
Man.
I'd rather hear the
top 5.
Yeah, top 5 first.
Hit that first. All right.
I mean, so some of the music I like's a little older, so
that's fine.
Apologies, guys.
There's no apologies necessary. There's no genres off limits, Don.
I love it, man.
Our 10 listeners, and they were like, "Hell yeah, I love that band."
Our 10 listeners, there's 2 of them. Like, oh my God, I've been here. 4 of them are over here. You're the perfect guest. Don is great.
I love it, man. Yeah, no, thank you. Forever 5. So definitely Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band. We got Elvis. I'm also a big Sinatra fan. Frank Sinatra. He's credited with having the first concept album of all time, which
means,
it's like before the idea of having a concept album was basically that all of the songs tied together, right? So a lot of especially in the eras that I liked more, which is the 50s and 60s, a lot of them were just kind of, take a song here, a song there. This is a good tune. This might be a hit.
Story.
Doesn't tell a story.
Right.
So, when he broke up with Ava Gardner, he had this album that was all, a love story, and it was a whole album about that basically, and it really tied well together. But but in the late 60s and into the 70s, every album was a concept album. Everything was meant to tie together.
Gotcha.
We talked about Soft Parade. I mean, that's a beautiful album, and it's all meant to be together. If you try to put a song, something else in there, it just wouldn't fit. Right?
It's like Lou Reed Magic and Lost. That was a whole thing that he wrote about one of his writing partners that passed or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, but every single song told you the whole story along.
There you go.
That kind of whole relationship and everything.
Yeah.
And pretty powerful.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thinking about the others, is there any perfect top 5? I think, some people would just be like, and even me thinking about it, I'm like, I'm going to leave somebody out. I'm going to leave out some group that I absolutely love. I'm going to throw a sideball, kind of like a sidewinder at you here. You mentioned Chicago, but I was thinking that you were going to mention the band Chicago.
I gotcha.
And Chicago Transit Authority was the original name of the group, right? They're one of my top 5.
Okay.
So initially, when we started the Phenomenals, it was going to be a Chicago tribute band.
Really?
So we were playing the song "Make Me Smile," which was a great song from earlier in there, but. And going back to Woodstock as well, Jimi Hendrix credited one of the best guitar players of all time as actually Terry Kath, which was the guitar player for Chicago.
Really?
Yeah. That was the only guitar player that Jimmy ever admitted to being better than him.
Really?
Yeah, Terry Kath.
That's crazy.
But if you listen to Chicago, you can't listen to the Hard Habit to Break and all that stuff.
Right.
You got to listen to the first 7 albums. So stick with their first 7 albums, and you'll realize what I'm talking about.
Because people have always said, oh my God, Chicago's amazing. And the only thing I know about Chicago is
all the Peter Cetera stuff.
Yes, and I'm like, I don't know, why is everyone always so high on Chicago?
Yeah, man. No, let me tell you. You get into.
So it's the early
I'll
stuff.
make a playlist for you if you want. There's an album called "The Innovative Guitar of Terry Kath." And they actually did a documentary on him as well. His daughter did this whole thing about trying to find his original guitar, and she ended up finding it. Spoiler alert.
But, Billy Corgan finally got his back too.
Oh, nice.
Okay. He did.
But it was a great movie, and But they had a lot of great songs. I mean, if you remember the song 25 or 6 to 4, a lot of hard driving, strong guitar, strong rock and roll, like really good rock and roll. But then they had the horns too, which brings in the part where I really love the sax playing and all that. So,
and that's what I love, the bands that incorporate like everything, even if it's just like kind of the normal band, but they have keyboards, or whatever into it.
I love the horns.
Oh, I love when they bring horns into it. And I mean, I think probably why you like Soft Parade, right? Because if I remember, they got quite a few horns.
Novice, of course, we've already established that about music, but it's a saxophone. Is that a horn?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you can call it a horn. It's a wind instrument. It's a woodwind.
It's a woodwind.
So you got the reed on there, and
you got the oboe, you got the clarinet, you got the double bassoon.
Yeah, I mean the oboe is a double reed. Yeah, it's a little different, a little harder to play.
That's what I remember. Like what you had to learn about music. Like all the different instruments and stuff.
I do love anything with good saxophone in it. So partly Bruce. I mean, Clarence Clemens, right?
Absolutely.
That was one of my favorite concerts, actually. Thinking about going to the Palace, and I got to see Bruce and be on the floor there, and Clarence Clemens playing Jungle Land, right?
That's
awesome. So for a sax player that loves rock and roll, and hearing that and hearing it, I probably should have appreciated it a little bit more, but. And I did, but thinking to it now, I'm like, oh man, that was really.
That's okay.
I'm glad I did that.
You appreciated it back then, but now you appreciate it a lot more.
Exactly.
You just don't really understand when you're
grow
in that
situation,
right? Because I mean, we're fucking younger. We're dumb as fuck half the time, right? You don't realize what you're witnessing.
Yeah, it's true.
Like being in the '90s. I mean, pick a concert, like being on the front fucking row and watching those guys that have withstood the test of time, but you were there at the very beginning when they were, which as I hate that I miss is, like the Pearl Jam shows, like the Blind Pig in Ann Arbor, everyone talks about it. It's like, oh man, that would have been great. But I was way too big of a P word at like 14, 15, 16 to like go to that stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas like you were playing shows at 14, 15, and 6, 10,
that's true.
Right?
I know.
It's just, like you're at different points, and then finally you realize, like, who cares? I'm just going down there because I want to see this.
And I love that your dad, you said your dad obviously was a sax, right?
Yeah.
And then now you're
awesome.
Putting it on to your kid.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Baby. I mean,
so you got two more in this for over 5. Who else you got?
Yeah, let's see. I've mentioned I mentioned Dion, right? Dion DiMucci. I mean, he's one of my favorites. That Kickin' Child album, and then there's he's done so many great things. It's I mean, I'd hate to leave him out. Also Otis Redding. You guys like Otis Redding at all? Do you listen to his music?
Yes, I've listened to Otis Redding, and I think probably the one thing everyone always knows isn't Hard to Handle.
Hard to Handle, right?
Yeah. His original song that the Black Crowes kind of
Black Crowes, sorry.
Turned in. Which we went and saw Black Crowes in April, and I was like, finally Chris and Rich Robinson got back together. It's like I think the whole band is different besides them, but wow, it was really good.
Yeah,
to see those two back together. They do a great
version of that song too.
They do, they do. And what's funny is I remember I told you I saw them. It was my second concert ever, and they opened up for ZZ Top, and I remember hearing Hard to Handle. I'm like, man, the guy's not even singing all the fucking words. Like, he couldn't keep up. It almost seemed like
it's a tough song to keep up.
But you know what I
with.
realized then is like it's a cover, and that's just how he sings it.
Yeah.
Because then I saw him sing it in April, and it sounded exactly like I heard him sing it in '91. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is how they do it, especially live or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, okay, now I get it. Because to be honest, for like 30 years, no idea that wasn't their original song.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's no problem. I mean, it's great that they do that. Some of the best songs.
Because like Otis Redding's sitting on the dock of the bay, and it was like that's the one I remember from him.
That song came out like a couple days after he died. Right. Yes. The plane. He had the plane crash, and it's sort of crazy. That song, a lot of the true like soul fans don't even consider that an Otis Redding song.
Really?
They're like, if you like Otis Redding because you like the song Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, I don't want to talk to you.
You got a lot of work to do, right?
Yeah, because like he did the song Respect, and then Aretha Franklin covered it, and that was her #1 song.
No
right?
shit.
So Respect was an Otis Redding song.
It's not a Aretha song.
That's probably
No,
I never knew that.
I love it.
Testament.
Hey man, I hear every word. No, but he had a lot of great songs. I mean, if you listen to what's the Dirty Dancing, that movie, they have a couple good Otis Redding songs in it, and he had
Really?
You know, one of the first songs in that movie is Love Man, which is a great song by him, and that's what they're dancing to when Baby comes across the fact that, you know, Johnny Castle and all those guys are in the back.
Baby in a corner.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, so you know, there's a lot of great Otis Redding songs though, and he is just
Love it.
From
That's
a soul
the funniest thing,
perspective.
is because like a lot of people know him sitting on the dock of the bay, but that's like the one thing people don't want him to be known for.
Hey, you know what? For me, I'm equal opportunity from that perspective.
That's
love
why
it. You know, I love that song and
Love him because how you love him.
Yeah,
Who cares how you got there?
my band used to play it, and I used to play the whistle part, but on the saxophone, and it was a cool version we used to do.
That's
and,
awesome.
Yeah. So
Do you have a bunch of old footage, like when you guys were playing? From
I don't
years
have
ago?
much
No,
old
not
footage.
old.
No, I mean, you know,
We'll put all his old footage in the link right there.
Right at the bottom. Hit it.
I'll see.
There'll be nothing there.
I'll see what I can find. Yeah.
No, that'd be interesting to see
You know,
it, though.
there's a couple videos. I told you about Eric the Red Band. There's a couple videos of me playing with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to
because
see
everybody's
shit like
a cell
that.
phone now. You know,
Right, because I mean, I
play
I
with
say it all the
Bruce,
time.
you know.
I wish I would have more footage of like when we used to play soccer and shit. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
True.
oh my god, remember that save I made? You know,
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Just what it looked like. You know,
Yeah. Saved in your mind.
I gotta imagine it's like the same thing for you guys, man. Remember when we played that fucking song?
Yeah.
This fucking hit.
I think the hardest thing, man, is I was right on the cusp. You know, I was like right on the. I should have like done more of it, but.
But you're doing good.
Yeah, I did. I'm still playing. You know,
Right.
I feel like I'm. You know, in the next few years, I'll probably come into like a little bit of a renaissance because the kids will be getting older and stuff. But
Welcome to Two Dudes Life. Dude.
Yes.
Welcome.
yeah,
When you're fully ready, let me know.
you made it.
Yeah, you'll make it, dude. It'll be amazing. It's the most amazing time of your life. I'm 49, and my youngest is in college.
okay,
So I hit like everyone.
and that's when I'll start.
They still
playing.
live here. I don't give a shit. They come
There
here
you
as
go,
long as they
dog.
fucking want. I don't
Yeah.
even care about that shit. I don't have to worry about the fucking public school bullshit. The stupid
and
day to
drop-offs,
day,
yeah.
all that dumb shit. It's done.
Yeah.
You guys are adults now. You can ask me for advice. I don't have to give you anything.
Yeah.
Except
love it.
advice. I mean, I'm not that big of a.
No, I get it, man. I get it. Like, it's-
Because you end up having like almost that type of relationship. They're still
Yeah.
my kids, yes, but I also want to kind of bring them along and
Yeah.
gain that friendship as
Yeah.
you're talking about stuff.
yeah, right.
And I love taking them to shows. They've been on this show.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I've encouraged everyone in my family to experience live music.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and
Whatever
then,
it is that you like, just go and experience it.
and this is why I had to have a live band at our wedding. You know, it's
It's a whole different experience.
Everybody's like, "What DJ are you gonna get?" I was like, "Don't even talk to
DJ.
me." You know, and
If it's me, it's a polka band.
yeah. And I play a mean polka, by the way. You want to hear some good beer barrel polka? I can rip that on my sax right now if I had it. So,
I wish you did have
your wedding. You had a
We're going to have to have you back on just for that.
I love it. Yeah, I had a live band at my wedding, and
Nice.
you know, you do get
buddies or just
No, you know, that was a hard
Hired
thing for me because
Because
because you
and so
they want to be in the wedding.
what we also had to say, and this was one of the things I had to give in on, was, you know, we don't want everybody jamming, you know, because everybody I know is a musician,
right.
and it's just so difficult, you know. So it's like we're just gonna hire somebody we don't know, and it was a good band and it had a good vibe, and everybody just had to sit back and
awesome.
enjoy live music,
Right.
you know. So But you do get a different vibe.
I like the live band.
No, I do.
I've been to a couple, and I like them more.
For weddings, I will take a live band over DJ any day of the week.
And I will tell you,
I will forgive them not playing Kung Fu Fighting just to have a live band.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I play a mean Kung Fu Fighting on sax.
No shit.
So
really?
Cosmic Groove Band.
Well then, shit.
Cosmic Groove
DJ's
is
out for sure.
I'll tell
I'm
you
gonna
what.
hurry for my next wedding.
My next wedding.
So that band,
Bill plans on having 3. He hasn't had any yet, but he's gonna have 3 probably.
I love it. So I mean, anybody that hires a Cosmic Groove Band, they can always request me. But I will say that they're one of the top wedding bands in Detroit. They play a lot of weddings, and one of the songs we used to play a lot was Kung Fu Fighting. So it was like da 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 da. But I just rock it on the sax, like as loud as I can play it.
I always
it's no longer that little airy
at a
stuff.
wedding.
Like,
I always put it on a little thing, and you put it in there. Kung Fu Fighting 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It's the song that gets everyone like, oh my God, I know this song. They're all excited about it.
And everybody starts doing
yes!
See all the arms come up, little Karate Kid.
Everyone's doing the crane.
Exactly. Somebody gets kicked in the face.
Yes, the illegal kick to the face is somehow good for Danielson.
That's too funny.
Yeah, the only thing I did at my wedding that was kind of nuts was you remember the movie Animal House where they're like, everybody's like alligator, and they all hit the ground and they're just so we definitely pulled out a little Animal House joke at the wedding.
I love it. The one thing I'll never forget, I was at my parents' friends were having a party. We're over at their house, and it's later at night. Everyone's out of the pool, so me and my brother are sitting in their living room, and we're watching Animal House. And I might be like 8 years old.
Oh man!
And
was it the uncensored version?
Yes, it was the uncensored. And I even remember hearing the guy walk out from going to the bathroom, going, "Hey, Dave, your boys are in there watching Animal House right now," and he goes, "Oh, that's probably the 3rd or 4th time they've seen that."
Love that movie, but there's a few scenes.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I've always taken that stance with my kids. Movies and stuff. Yeah. You'll watch what you watch.
That's true.
But then I was in the grocery store or whatever, and they had back when they still would really sell DVDs 20 years ago. They had the display with The Hangover.
Okay.
Galifianakis, the Allen character, and I'm going through, and it's just me and my youngest daughter. She might be 3 or 4 at the time, and she goes, "Hey, Dad, look, it's Alan." Talking about Galifianakis from The Hangover. I'm like,
oh man,
yeah, maybe that's not a good thing. And then I'll never forget. Me and my wife were out, and my sister-in-law was babysitting. She's giving her a bath or something and everything, and doing her thing, and she's putting her to bed. And my daughter says something about Saxon.
Okay.
Jackie goes, "Well, where'd you hear that word?" She goes, "Peter Griffin."
Oh man.
From Family Guy, because me and her would sit and watch that because we would be crashing out or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, well, I guess we're not going to watch Family Guy anymore.
I know.
Then she actually could call him out by Peter Griffin.
Peter Griffin.
Exactly.
I love it. That's crazy, man.
Quick name out there.
Hey, no worries, man. Hey, everyone's got a little flu bug right about now, bro. Flu. Did we get all 5 of them yet? Or is there still one more?
I think we did get all 5 of them. Yeah,
okay.
I think I might have gave you 6 actually.
All right.
But let's.
Well, that's what I always say. I mean, actually, one of our other guests, Justin
10,
Dunkel, came up with his. He called it the second line. Your top 5, and then your next 5. Because, for me, I mean, there's the Beastie Boys, there's the Doors, there's the Pearl Jam. There's so many other ones, and any given day, you might change it.
Well, that's true, and you go through different phases of your life,
right.
And I was telling you about records before, so I collect vintage vinyl and stuff, and
that's awesome.
Started doing
I've never done
9.
that, but I love that people do that.
Yeah, and I was at a point where I was buying the White Album for $1, and any album you want, you could find for $1. It felt like. And I used to go to these different record shops up and down Michigan Avenue in Dearborn, And it's funny because I go to garage sales, and I went to one time, and the guy was like, "I know your dad." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "You know what? What are you looking for?" I was like, "Oh, anything music, And he's like, "Here's a box of records." And you'd be surprised how many times I've been somewhere and somebody says, "Here's a box of records."
It's crazy.
And the last time it happened, I was actually at this dump, which is kind of crazy, My wife's dad, who unfortunately passed away as well, he was a veteran for Vietnam.
So was my
Vietnam War, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, thank
love those guys, man.
Yeah, for their service,
whole different
right?
breed.
Yeah, exactly. And so he had a really great connection with this guy, and he was also a vet. And we got to talking, and Jess's dad. That's how I got introduced to Moose and the Sharks. Actually, him and Moose grew up together. So it's kind of funny how everything comes full circle.
Absolutely.
But this guy was like, "Oh yeah, we've had this box of records. Somebody was going to throw them out, and I couldn't let them be thrown out." And he's like, "I don't know what they're worth. I don't know anything about them." He's like, "I took the ones out that I want. Do you want them?" And I started to look through it, and it was somebody's entire '60s jazz collection. It was every Miles Davis album you'd want, just some of the most incredible jazz, and I'm just looking at it like, oh my God!
Wait, you want $3 for this?
Yeah, because
does that give you like $300
at this dump in Livonia? It only costs $20 to unload the stuff, and the guy was like, "Here, I want him to go to a good home," and I was like, oh my God.
That's
because
awesome.
Now you go to some of these record stores, and especially for that vintage jazz, you're looking at $40, $50, $60 an album,
right?
For the good original stuff,
Right.
And for me, I like to listen to jazz and any of the instrumentals without lyrics while I'm working, because it helps all the synapses fire better when you're working, and like for me,
the lyrics kind of mess with your mind while you're doing it, right?
Yeah, and I got to kind of hack my day, because as like a entrepreneur, your mind's got to be firing everywhere, right? And especially I'm trying to grow McLean Media. I'm thinking like, and you read these things about if you're a musician and music plays, how much it does for your brain. Mm. And even my dad had Parkinson's. I was like, there's a way for like music to kind of heal in a way. Mm-hmm. And but it also opens up new things. And so I have this whole really good playlist of jazz on Spotify, but I've been trying to build my records, and so to have all that, it was just kind of like, wow, this is epic.
I think that you just said something where like your dad with Parkinson's, music, etc.
Yeah.
Like I am 100% convinced that there's people out there in the world that they may have issues in life, but somehow music allows them to connect and allows them to actually excel.
Yeah.
Because they may struggle with language, they may struggle with this. And I mean, the one thing I look to is actually America's Got Talent. That dude his name was Cody, and he had like a very severe like autism or something. But he actually could play piano and sing a song like he was Elton John. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Music has that.
Yeah.
A way to connect to people that even if they can't on other levels, that somehow that may bring them out and could then eventually lead to other things for them too,
Exactly.
And that's why I always say, like, music is such a powerful thing.
It's a healer, it's a connector, it's a lot of things.
And it's the one thing that everyone has experienced in their life.
That's true.
No matter what, like,
it's a universal
you
language.
may have never experienced anything else, but I can guarantee almost every single person who experienced music. There's someone hitting a fucking drum, a fucking piece of wood, or just singing.
Yeah.
A cappella. It's just, and it has such a powerful influence over people.
It's rad. Music is rad.
100%.
And there's all different types, I mean,
right.
There's, I'm going to go back to Bruce Springsteen. I know you guys not the biggest fans, right?
No, but I'm not. I think Cal loves him. Okay. I'm not.
His sax.
Kind of like Neil loves, who is it that you love?
Fuck Sting.
I love it. So what I was going to say, though, is like, sometimes you need an album to just reduce your anxiety, right? And so my album that I listen to help reduce my anxiety is called Peacemaker by Clarence Clemens. And, after, Bruce was touring, he sort of left Clarence and the band behind for a while, right? And so, Clarence, he's a big, amazing person, and unfortunately he passed away as well. So glad I got to see him. I got to see him.
That wasn't that long ago, right? It was
not too long ago.
A couple of years ago, maybe.
Yeah. But his nephew now plays with the Springsteen band, which is nuts.
Really?
So Jake Clemens, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, this album called Peacemaker is, he went to East Asia. I forget exactly where, and he ended up recording, this album, and it's all just lead saxophone, and it's peaceful, but it's also like moody. It's very interesting, so it's definitely worth checking out, man.
Really.
But music, like I said, it's a healer, it's a connector, and I love everything about it.
100%. I mean, like I said, I have no musical background whatsoever. Yeah. But for me, it's been something that has carried me through life.
Yeah.
It ups, downs, whatever. Mm-hmm. And, and the part I love about it is like experiencing new music. Yeah. New stuff, whether it's from an old band I love that's got new music or it's a brand new band I've never heard of. Yeah. And that's a lot of the concerts I go to. A lot of it will be those bands I've loved forever, but a lot of it's, a lot of bands I've never heard much out of. But, you get to get them in a small venue and, it's like their environment, it's just like a perfect storm.
It's amazing.
100%. And
I can't believe we've been talking for so long. It feels like 15 minutes, but how long has it been here?
I would say we're probably coming up on a couple hours.
Almost 2 hours. Yeah. Wow.
It doesn't even feel like
I could sit and talk about this forever, and that's the beauty of it. And the part I love about it is almost like the after effect. Like so many people that have been on the show, I've gone to shows with after.
Yeah.
It's like...
That's amazing.
I haven't talked to a dude I played soccer with since we were 16, but then we went to Ben Harper last October.
I love it, yeah.
And obviously I think we're going to continue to have a relationship moving forward.
Absolutely,
because, one, you're a good dude, you love
Thanks,
music. We have a lot of the same interests and stuff, and it's interesting to see what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And how you're carrying on,
Thank you.
With your media company and the stuff that you're doing, and just actually learning today of even more about you. Oh. And that you're a lot more well-rounded than I even fucking realized, to be honest.
I'm trying, man. I try to be able to talk about anything for at least 5 minutes. So, and I think that's part of...
Dude, that is... Inside secret? No, that's what I've told my kids forever.
Yeah.
Is like...
That gets you a lot of places.
If you know a lot about everything, and not just everything about something, it can open up so many doors. If it means... Like... I might be able to go talk to someone about soccer, or I might be able to talk to someone about music, or I might be able to go talk to someone about mechanical engineering or whatever else.
Crafting.
Or crack. Who knows? It could be any fucking topic, but I probably learned enough about it along the way that you can carry on a conversation.
Yeah.
And you can, now you have a connection.
Yeah.
And it's like, then you can, how can we go deeper with this? And for me, when I think about like going deeper with that connection, it isn't because it benefits me. It's because I'm just genuinely concerned. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, like you come on the show, it's like, wow, you actually played the saxophone? Because from our interactions, like I knew you owned a PR firm, you worked on this stuff, but like I've learned so much more just today. It's amazing.
Maybe I should post some of that stuff.
No, absolutely. And I'll say, I couldn't thank you enough for coming here, being on today. I will say for everyone else, I don't want any one of these songs, but what's going to be? It's going to be Deftones.
Okay.
Not a band I've ever known anything about, but I saw them at Lollapalooza.
Oh, nice.
And people love them.
Okay.
And so I listen to them more, and like I kind of get it, I will say to anyone, I respect your decisions about music. I will listen to it. I may not like it, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, you might like it more 10 years from now.
Right. And you know what? You might not like my shit. Doesn't matter either.
I love it.
Because I'm going to listen to it. Well, I need to listen to it or whatever. But no, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man.
I couldn't thank you enough.
No, thanks. Appreciate
I would say thanks to all of our supporters. Obviously, we just hit a huge milestone, 500 subscribers on YouTube.
Nice.
And make sure to keep checking us out, YouTube, for watching the videos, Spotify, plus all of our other socials, because we got so much cool shit out there. Make sure to check us out. Two Dudes, Killer Tunes. What up?